Okay, now let's work through the bank reconciliation. Bank reconciliations are pretty important for people to understand how to do. Accountants tell us if someone has completed this unit, there's a few expectations they have, and one of them is that they could do a bank reconciliation. However, this is pretty early in the unit, and we don't actually do bank reconciliations until we study internal control, because a bank reconciliation is an example of an internal control. So this will probably make even more sense when you get there. Let's think about what we're trying to do and what we need here. A bank reconciliation starts out with the general ledger. So I'll go to the general ledger, and our cash at bank account, it shows that we've got $747 in our cash at bank. Now we want to compare that to some type of external record, and that will be the external bank statement. So we'll go and look at the bank statement. It's up towards the front, part of information, and here's the bank statement, and it says we've got $8,535 cash at bank. So a different, whoops, I'll just go down so you can see that number. It says we've got $8,535 in the bank, and they're different. Why are they different? Well, we're about to find out, and that's the process of a bank reconciliation. Now this is a really good time to re-mention something I mentioned in a previous video. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity is the accounting equation. The normal balance of an asset is a debit, and yet cash is an asset. Why is this showing as a credit? This is one of the big forms of confusion for people. Well, it could be shown as a credit if you're overdrawn. You would think, yep, that would be a liability. However, here's the thing we need to bear in mind. Bank statements are written from the perspective of the bank. So from the bank's perspective, they owe you $8,535. They have a liability of that. So for you, in our records, this will be a debit. So to do your bank rec, what do you need? Well, you need your bank statement, you need the balance as per the books, which is the general ledger, and you also need last month's bank reconciliation, because there might be some figures on there, such as some unpresented checks or deposits in transit, that we need to be aware of. So this is what our bank statement or bank reconciliation will look like. So we're going to take the balance as per the bank, that's the statement, and then we're going to add some things to it, add some things that are not recorded on the bank statement, and we're going to deduct some things that are not recorded to give us an adjusted bank balance. And then we're going to do the same with our books. There might be things that we find on the bank statements that we've not brought to account yet. Now, I said you'll need last month's bank reconciliation. Now here, unfortunately, I haven't given you that information, so now you will need to copy that information in. So the opening balance of the bank last month, 4561.25, balance 31st of May. Now we could go back and check that bank statement. See, 456125. So the opening balance for this period, and that just happens to agree. Deposits in transit. So what's this? That's a deposit that was made at the end of last month that wasn't brought to account just yet. Outstanding checks, check number 598 for nearly $27,000. So what's an outstanding check? Also referred to as an unpresented check. Someone has put, well, you have written a check, you've given it to someone, but they haven't deposited in their bank account yet. So because they haven't done that, it's still an unpresented check or an outstanding check. So let's now go through this and do the bank reconciliation. So firstly, bank balance. So bank balance, we can go to the bank statement. Now you probably won't be able to copy this off. 8535, it's wrong, you can copy that off. Now I'm going to introduce you to something that I hope will make this a little bit easier. So go across the top to View and click on View, and you'll see New Window. If you click on New Window, you'll get a new window of the current file. So we now have two files in here. Now I can arrange all, so arrange all vertical, and so what I will now get is side by side these two files. Now to fit them into the screen, just might make this a little smaller, and that will fit a little better into the screen. Now one of these I'd like to go to the bank statement, so you'll go down the bottom and find the bank statement, which happens just after transactions, and now we've got the bank statement appearing in there. So there'll be some things here that will be helpful when we put this together. So 8353, that comes straight off the bank statement, which is just out of shot of this screen at the moment, but if you've set yours up this way, you should be able to see the 8353. Now let's see if we can find any checks that are outstanding. Now how will we do this? Well, this will in fact require us to go back to another statement, being the journals where we recorded it. So special journals, where we recorded all the checks. So you can see we go 613, 612 through to 617. So let's go over here, and we might go home, just make sure this file is unprotected, this sheet is unprotected, and now we'll see what's been deposited. 612, so we can see 612, 57,000, and I'm just going to, in practice you'd probably put a tick on that, so that's done. Let's go 613, you can see 613 is there, so tick. 614, and it's the right number. Well, got to go over the end to see that it's the right number. You'll be able to see it's the right number in yours. 615, 8,800, check. 616, this is going to be an outstanding check. Check 616. Righto, so we'll have to go back and write that in, and 617 is there. So I probably need to put a cross or something in here, just in the short run, to know that it's outstanding. And I'll change that, but we'll come back and fix that. And the two deposits in transit have both been done. So all we're going to have is one unpresented check of 617. Maybe I'll go and write that in now. So I'll go back to the bank reconciliation. And that is check 616, and it is 8250. I'm going to say check 616, 8250 is the only unpresented check. So the total is going to be that number plus that number, 8250. Now let's go back and see if there's any deposits in transit. So I need to fact, what I think I'll do is open up even another window, see if that works. New window, and arrange all, vertical. Maybe it's only going to let me do one new window. I don't know. Arrange all, vertical. So because also what I'd like to have in here is the special journals. So what I'll do is just drag one of these, if I can. See if I can drag that over the top so it comes in the screen. And now I'm going to check the deposits. Righto, let's see what deposits have been made. Right, the 1200 I can check off. The top one seems to be some issue with it, so let's have a look. The 11275, let's check. Then 225,000s are both done. And then I add these two items together, and that is the 40,447. So they're done. So it looks like there's going to be no deposits in transit. I've still got this issue. Now, how will it work? Well, let's have a look. I've got $29,000. So I'll just take 29,000 off there. Minus 29, 1, 2, 3. And so I'm missing 33,662.50. Now let me cross that over, and we will go, and we will see that last month I had a deposit in transit of 33,662.50. So that does make sense. That deposit in transit has now been deposited. So it was deposited in the transit, and that deposit is included with the 29,000 in there. So that is correct as well. So this item is correct. The only thing that's probably a bit of a problem, that says the 1st of the 6th, and this wasn't until the 7th of the 6th. So, but that's a problem that we have made. So really that probably should be the 7th. But anyway, we'll fix that up for the future. And then that would, if that is the 7th, that's a long time for a deposit in transit to stay in transit. Righto, so now we see we have no deposits in transit. So go back down here. Deposits in transit. It's funny that's not green. But I think it's just not green because it's going to be 0, so nothing was put in. Let's see if this becomes correct. So bank balance opening 8535, plus any deposits we've missed. No, so there's no deposits that we need to add to this. Deduct any checks that are still presented, 8250. So that means our adjusted bank balance is 285. So that's what we think we should have in the bank. So now let's do the that's called the bank reconciliation. Now let's do the cash book reconciliation. So what's the cash book reconciliation? Well, I can probably put away the bank statement now and get have a look at the general ledger. So the general ledger is showing the cash at bank at $747. Where does that come from? Well, I'll just drag across the general ledger for you if it comes along. And we see general ledger 747. So I could go, this equals 747. Now I've lost that page. Well, then I need to add any interest received but not taken up, any deposits not taken up. Right, let's go and look at the bank statement again. Now what are we looking for this time? Previously here we looked to see if there's any items that are in our books over here that have not yet found their way into the bank statement. Now we're doing the other side. We're looking at the bank statement to see if there's any statements on the bank statement that are not yet in our books. So I'll just drag the bank statement back across, and we can see, here's something I didn't go before, was the cheque 268835, but you will remember that that cheque 598 was outstanding from last month. Let's just have a look. Cheque 598, is the amount right? 26,883.75, 26,883.75. So that's done as well. You can see there's 3 items here that are showing on our bank statement but we haven't recorded in our books yet, and so we're going to have to make allowance for those. There's 2 things we're going to have to do with those. Firstly, we're going to have to record them in our bank reconciliation. Then we're going to have to bring them to account by writing journals for them. Now, which journal will they go in? Well, if we go through the normal tests, we'd say, does this involve a change to our bank balance? And therefore it would go into either the cash received or the cash payments journal. But this is a little bit different. In fact, they do require a change to our bank balance, but I'm going to put them in the general journal. So why? Well, this is because this is a post-balance date transaction. Well, I'll post bringing these items to account transaction. So what's happened? Well, we've already posted these items to the general ledger. So if we were to add new things in here, we'd have to go back and change these postings. So that's why they're going to go in the general journal, so we don't have to amend these. Now, increasingly what's happened in practice though, what you would do now, because you can look at your bank statements online. In fact, when you got to the end of the month, before you closed off, you'd probably go and have a look at your bank statement and say, hey, have we missed any payments on our bank statement or any income on our bank statement that we should bring to account? So I can change that salaries expect because we've fixed that. Righto, so we can see we've got 3 items here. That I haven't brought to account yet. So bank errors, there's no bank errors. Let me go down. Interest received not taken up, that's 0. No deposits not taken up, so there'll be items that come in this column, but there is some payments. Bank fees and bank fees are $440. Now we could divide them up even further into overdrawn fee and overdrawn fee. That's a pretty big overdrawn fee, and interest debit. Of $22, so we've been charged interest. These 2 items added together. $462. So our adjusted cash book balance will be $747 plus any deposits that we hadn't recorded, and there's none of those, minus any payments we hadn't recorded, and there is some of those, comes out at $285, and you'll see that our bank reconciliation in fact works. Our adjusted cash at bank after we do our journals will be $285, and our adjusted balance per the bank statement will be $285. So that is looking good. Final thing we need to do is go to the general journal and write these transactions in. So general journal. So let's look at what we need to bring up. Well, we've got bank fees and interest not paid. Now we'll look in a minute, but is there an order we put these in? All things being equal, well, the debits go first and then you do things in account number order. So interest paid is likely to come before bank fees, but we'll check on that. Is $22, and bank fees is $4.40. Then we have cash at bank, $4.62. So let's go and have a look. Let's post this to the general ledger. So general ledger, I'll go over here, cash at bank, June 30, and G3 B. This is going to be a credit. It's going to make our bank account balance smaller. 462, 474 minus 462, 285, which is good because that's the balance that it said in our bank reconciliation. It said that's what our bank account balance should be. So that's done. We can write that in as account 101. Now we go down lower for these, down into the expenses, which would be way down near the bottom. So interest expense 360. Let's just enter these. June 30. Bank rec. G3. Writing G3 over here. Stands for General Journal 3. A debit because it's an expense of $22. And I can write in here 630. And June 30. Oops. That's not good. June 30. Bank rec G3. Sorry, I'm just out of view. June 30, bank rec G3, $440. And that is going to be 632. Now let's just fix these up. Our expenses were 4,375 before we noticed this expense of $22. That will increase our expenses. A debit 4,397, and same here. Our expenses will go from 350 to 790 when we add the 440. So that is done. Our bank rec is done. Closing balances, we'll come to those later. I've got one more spot there that worries me a bit. Why that's not green, but could have just left it. So that looks all good for the bank rec. Actually, there's one thing I should tell you about the bank rec to do with the graphs. That's the graphs have been linked to last year's bank reconciliation, I think. At least part of them have. So the graphs are not reliable. They're reliable now because you're finished and they're correct. I think the bank rec one relates to this year, and the cash book reconciliation relates to all of last year. But I'll have that fixed up for version 3. So let's go back and have a look at our dashboard. So I'll make this page full on out. Progress report. We now see bank reconciliation is also done. General journal will get in a bit more done, and we can see these pages here are now starting to fill out a bit more. Progress dashboard, we can see more and more we're filling out items on the progress dashboard. So pretty much finished inventory. Only one of the dates I've got is not working. Subsidiary ledger's done, special journal's done, We're making good progress on the general journal. The transactions are done to 100%, and bank rec's done to 100%, so we've just got adjusting entries and the closing entries, and that will fill up all of that. And we're making good progress on the to-go. Worksheet we haven't started, or our financial statements we haven't started. And again, it's showing down here, the bank rec is done, which it is, but for some of you it might show that it's done before it's done. Righto. Now next we will in fact move on to the worksheet.